Okay.
So anytime you want to start.
You're in trouble. Is it pointing at my left ear there?
It is.
I know.
You're being recorded
I'm being
as you
recorded
speak.
As we speak. Just asking whether it's recording my left ear or not. Well, it's December and it'll be Christmas next week. It's hard to believe that another year is almost has passed us by. It's going by quicker. It's going quicker. Well, the older you get, the faster it goes.
Yep. Remember when you were a kid, it took forever.
That's right.
For Christmas.
It took forever just from Christmas Eve to Christmas morning. That took forever. Now a year goes by for us in that time, it seems. We had a wonderful run of Scrooge at the Art Center. If you missed it, shame on you. It was a very, very good cast this year. They did a good job.
Who did a great job?
The cast of Scrooge.
The cast, yeah, okay.
John Milligan was Scrooge this year, and Thomas Hume was Cratchit. And
Doug was
still Marley's ghost. He's been Marley's ghost. He will become Marley's ghost when he passes on. He'll be walking around in chains. And so it was a good thing. I got a good recording of it, which the cast I'm giving. I underwrote the production this year, so I'm providing all the videos for free to the cast and crew instead of charging them for it. And so anyway, that's gone. The next event at Bowery Stage is Vance Gilbert. Vance Gilbert is an African American from Boston who sings folk music. He's probably the only African American that sings folk music.
Is he saying traditional folk music?
Well, stuff that he's written. Plus, he does some.
Oh, I see.
He does some traditional stuff. He'll be here January the 10th, and he's very good. I really recommend you come see him.
He's just.
And then Ray Wiley Hubbard is already sold out. So if you want to go, forget about it. All the tickets were sold online. I never saw a ticket. I can't go because I don't have a ticket. So.
But you're going to video it, aren't you?
No, I don't. I'm not doing that. I don't video those events anymore. The concert after that is Pierce Pettis. Pierce is a wonderful entertainer, singer-songwriter. I've seen him at churches in Dallas and all over the place, I highly recommend going to see him. The Men in the Arts exhibit is going to continue until the beginning of January. If you haven't seen it, it's free. It's at the Art Center. Just hope that somebody's there when you go to see it.
Yeah, I got an email from the Art Center yesterday, I think, or the day before, saying they were closing for the holidays.
Oh,
I don't know if that meant no doors open ever. It didn't say. It just said we're closing for the holidays.
They don't tell anybody anything, so I don't know what that means. I would imagine they're going to be closed between Christmas and New Year's. So if you don't see the Men in the Arts exhibit tomorrow and Monday, Monday you're not going to see it.
Yeah, I was in there for the advisory council meeting Wednesday night or something like that. Anyway, I saw some of it. It did look impressive.
Yeah. It's a good exhibit. That's it. I don't have any more announcements. We'll do this again January, whatever the third Friday is in January.
Okay, let me. Okay.
I'm going to read something you've all heard before. I probably won't read it as well as Doc would read it, or you would read it, or.
It was the night before Christmas.
That's it. The Texas version of Night Before Christmas.
Really? Is it Night Before Christmas in Texas?
Texas Night Before Christmas, it's called. Was written.
Let's see the book cover.
Illustrated by a gentleman called James Rice, who you also is the illustrator of the Cajun Night Before Christmas. I don't have that book though. There is the book. Okay. Texas Night Before Christmas. Available here at the Winnsboro Emporium. Just one copy. Illustrations are great, but I'm not going to show them to you because it'll take too long to do that. This came out in 1986. So, 'twas the night before Christmas, in the cold wintry fog, nary a critter was moving, nor a lone prairie dog. Then from out of the north, the breeze gave a stir, an icy cold blast swirled the fog in a blur. A blue Texas norther roared over the plains. The cold fairly whistled through the loose window panes. I poked at the fireplace to stir up a flame. The embers glowed redder, but the cold stayed the same. Ma mixed up our dinner to be ready next day and thought about Christmas a few hours away. Our scuffed boots were assembled on the floor pair by pair, where Santy would find 'em, for he soon would be there. The young'uns were bundled down snug in their covers, a sprout of a girl and her 2 older brothers. So me in my long johns and Ma in her gown warmed up by the fire, for we laid ourselves down. Then from out on the range there came such a ruckus. I ran to the window to see what the fuss was. Through the blue winter blizzard a scene came to sight. I squinted to see, for there weren't much light. There, stomping and snorting and pawing the ground, were 8 scroungy longhorns stampeding around. In front of a wagon piled full as could be, with boxes and bundles as high as a tree. Then a bellerin' yell soon set 'em all straight, from a fat little old ramrod who put fear in the 8. Well, they weren't really scared. No harm would he cause, for their long-horned head honcho was old Santa Claus. He got their attention and called them by name. "Hey, Leadfoot and Walleye, get up there, Culhane. Come on, Gimp and Floppier and Scarface, start dragging. Get on, Sam and High Hips, let's move this hair wagon." Old Leadfoot, he bellered and lifted his head, then straight on they trampled through Ma's flower bed. They laid the gate flat and the clothesline went too. Nothing stood in their way as they flat-footed through. Santy pulled them up short on top of the roof after wrecking the porch with them clodhopper hooves. They rocked our sod shanty, the dirt sifted down, and then through the chimney Santy came with a bound. He was dressed all in rawhide, with a Stetson on top. His big Texas boots hit the floor with a clop. He shook his great belly and stomped with each foot, which knocked off a shower of mud, ash, and soot. His eyes were both squinty, and his skin was like leather from too much exposure to the raw Texas weather. He looked tough as a horseshoe, but I felt no alarm, because a wink of his eye showed he'd do us no harm. A feed bag of toys he flung on his back, and with nary a word he opened the sack. He filled all the boots and piled them up high, then looked out the window and up at the sky. The cold Texas norther still whistled and blew, but more young'uns was waiting. His work wasn't through. It was hard to leave and walk through the door, to face all them longhorns and the cold as before. He drank some hot mud and hunched close to the heat to soak up the warmth and thaw his cold feet. He could no longer dally or put off the chore, so he gave us a wink and pushed through the door. He prodded the longhorns to get on the go, and the wagon took off through the fog and the snow. He called over the norther, for he went out of sight. "Merry Christmas, ye hay, and ye all have a good night." Woo-hoo!
Yes.
That's my offering for this one. Doc, you want to do it, or this young man back here? Either one of you.
Well, means I'm gonna follow up with a Night Before Christmas also.
I figured.
We'll put one in between us here.
Okay.
This is actually a song by my favorite Texas singer-songwriter, Max Stallings.
Oh, Max, I've met Max. Yeah, he played here.
My daughter knows him personally. She calls him Uncle Max.
All right.
Okay, it's called The Cowboy from Catarina. He was born on a bright day 1908. Must have made up his mind. He just couldn't wait. The labor came on so quick and so fast, they rushed to town, but she just couldn't last. He entered the world with his daddy playing doctor, a horse for a nursemaid, cattle milling about. Born in the back of his daddy's ranch wagon, into the tools of the trade there was never a doubt. Spent whole days on horseback just explaining the country. Skipped school when he could, 'cause it kept him inside. Took his supper on the back steps so he could see the sun setting. Stood up in his stirrups to watch the sun rise. He'd ride through the draws where the rock faces whistle. Sit there amongst the mesquite scrubs and thistles. He'd smell the white brush that the breeze carried by. And he thanked the angels for his cowboy life. The Second Great War called him down from his horse. They asked, will you serve? And he answered, of course. So he rode a troop ship across the great wide, and he fought the Axis with one thought in mind. Get back to Catarina, get back to his life, get back to his fence lines in the South Texas sky. Get back to his cattle, his pastures, his land. The cowboy from Catarina, he wore a very deep brand.
How do you spell Catarina?
Catarina. Okay, the 80s rolled around and his skin was wrinkled leather. The hearing had faded and his balance had been better, but he could still splat a buck from 3 fence lines away. In the cowboy Catarina, I wonder where you are today. Are you down in the draw where the rock faces whistle? Are you sitting amongst the mesquite and thistles? Can you smell the white brush that the breeze carries by? Are you thanking the angels for your cowboy in life? 'Cause you love the wide open spaces the best. You looked east every morning, every evening you looked west. You loved your cowboying ways more than anyone knew. Cowboy from Catalina, it's open spaces for you. It's them wide open spaces for you.
I apologize for interrupting. I thought when you shuffled your deals you were done there.
That's all right. And this is another one that's another Texas singer-songwriter called Comal County Blues by Jason Boland. I guess it finally rained. It's down to 85. I bet the fish are biting down by the riverside. And it's the only other place made colder around here in the middle of June by the endless string of strangers brought by the summer moon. My brother moved off to Houston, and most of my friends stay gone. I need to pay my taxes. I don't like to mow my lawn. I have a harmless habit, being fine wherever I am. But the way this water's rising, I need to get above the dam. There's one rolled in the ashtray. I'm taking Hunter Road, out by Riley's Tavern, where my liquor loves to flow. We'll skip around San Marcos and stop and tell Doug hello. Second gear up Congress, you know I like to take it slow. There's another page. The one right beside me helped me make it through that town. We moved out to the country, then we bought a wedding gown. But we still know our ways. We learned these lessons well. Back around the turn of the century from a one-room roadside cell. Oh, tonight I'm rolling up north, back to where I pay the due. Sometimes the only answer is the Austin for the Comal County Blues. Now this one's not much, but...
And were both of those songs?
Yes, sir. This isn't a song. It's just something I kind of did. It's called It's the Soldier. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the right to demonstrate. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the pastor, who has given us the right to worship. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is a soldier who salutes the flag, serves under the flag, and whose coffin is draped by a flag, who gives the protester the right to burn the flag.
Great.
Get up here to the Bowery place is Max Stallings. He is excellent.
Well, when Blacktop Gypsy came, his wife's in that.
Uh-huh.
Max came as a roadie, and they got him to sit in on one number. I recorded that. I got the video of that someplace.
He's my favorite Texas
He is
singer-songwriter.
good. There's no doubt about that. But I think he's a little pricey to bring to Winnsboro.
Mm.
All right, I'm going to follow up with Conrad's The Night Before Christmas. Now, we talked about political correctness and all that. And,
I'm sure this violates all of that.
no,
No?
it's talked about we need to change things, though.
Oh, this is the politically correct version of...
It is.
Is this original?
No. It doesn't even have by what author wrote this. That's the night before Christmas and Santa's a wreck. How to live in the world that's politically correct. His workers no longer would answer to elves. Vertically challenged they were calling themselves. And labor conditions at the North Pole were alleged by the Union to stifle the soul. 4 reindeer had vanished without much propriety, released to the wilds by the Humane Society, and equal employment had been made it quite clear that Santa had better not use just reindeer. So Dancer, Donner, Comet, and Cupid were replaced with 4 pigs, and you know that looked stupid. The runners had been removed from the sleigh. The ruts were termed dangerous by the EPA. And people had started to call for the cops when they heard sled noises on their rooftops. Secondhand smoke from his pipe had his workers quite frightened. His fur-trimmed and red suit was called unenlightened. And to show the strangeness of life's ebbs and flows, Rudolph was suing over unauthorized use of his nose. And had gone to Geraldo's in front of the nation, demanding millions in overdue compensation. So half of the reindeer were gone, and his wife suddenly said, enough of this life. Joined a self-help group, packed and left in a whiz, demanding from now on her title as Ms. And as far as the gifts, why, he never had a notion that making a choice could cause such a commotion. Nothing of leather, nothing of fur, which meant nothing for him and nothing for her. Nothing that might be construed to pollute, nothing to aim, nothing to shoot. Nothing that clamored or made lots of noise. Nothing that claimed to be gender specific. Nothing that's warlike or non-specific. No candy or sweets. They were had bad for the tooth. Nothing that seemed to embellish the truth. And fairy tales, while not yet forbidden, were like Ken and Barbie, better off hidden. For they raised the hackles of those psychological who claimed the only good gift was one ecological. No baseball, no football. Somebody could get hurt. Besides, playing sports exposed kids to dirt. Dolls were said to be sexist and should be passé. And Nintendo would rot your entire brain away. So Santa just stood there, perplexed. He could not figure out what to do next. He tried to be merry. He tried to be gay. But you've got to be careful with that word today. His sack was quite empty, limp to the ground. Nothing fully acceptable could be found. Something special was needed, a gift that he might give to all without angering the left or the right. A gift that would satisfy with no indecision each group of people, every religion, every ethnicity, every hue, everyone everywhere, even you. So here is the gift. It's a price beyond worth. May you and your loved ones enjoy peace on earth.
There we go.
Good.
Thank you.
Doctor?
Yes, sir. Hold that.
Marvelous, thank you. It's a Nintendo for you can do.
Probably.
Pay royalties for what? Oh, for
We're using Nintendo,
Oh.
that's a trademark infraction.
yeah.
See, so is Ken and Barbie, they're also, so watch out.
I'm reading again tonight from some of my late daughter's work. This is just a couple of very short, some of you remember she writes both short and epic poetry that goes on and on.
On and on.
These couple of short ones that she wrote, I call them love poems. One of them, the first one is titled, by the way, her name, Tara Boyd. She wrote under the name of Tara, of J.M. Vasquez, Joey Vasquez, and variations of also his Tragic Rabbit. You can find all those online from time to time. The first one is called Measure of Love. And it's a single page, not even the full page. You ask me if I love you. You measure each embrace. Weigh my words against your past. Distrust my smiling face. Examine each close offering for motive, intent. Praise apart my lines of love and ask me what I meant. You price each loving present. You bite to test my coin. You question all my kisses. Hold back when we conjoin. I wonder if you see me, or hear the sounds I speak. Love is dying on the vine, ill-nourished by critique. Why can't you simply swallow the sweets I feed to you? Distrust is hard and hollow. Love is easier to chew. And the second one is even shorter. It's called Moment. What Doc and I would call a minute. Moment. In my hand I held you for a single perfect moment. You shone, you gleamed, fair glittered. Ah, but then the light changed. The season turned. Your sunlight dimmed. That was our moment, and now it's gone.
All right.
That was a short one.
Both short. We began, as you may recall, this month we began with chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
We got to chapter 2?
Roaring
Yeah,
right along.
we're there. Now we're going to start with chapter 2
We're
today.
roaring right along.
How to read a poem, subtitled And Fall in Love with Poetry, Edward Hirsch. Reminder, we only read a paragraph each meeting. This is intentionally chosen to perhaps through some magical alchemy maybe will cause us all to live longer. To live long enough to finish this one. Let's hope so. Let's hope we all make it. Maybe on chapter 3, if we're all still here, we can start a tontine. Anyway, chapter 2 is titled A Made Thing. That's spelled M-A-D-E, a made thing. You've all heard of a made man in the Godfather movies and things like that. So let's see what a made thing is. Okay, the first paragraph is, I have carried the message in the bottle home, but now I must decipher it as a linguistic event, as a rhythmic group of words packed in salt, as a last will and testament. Was it saying? Poetry is a soul-making activity, and the reader in part authors that activity by responding to the form of the poem, its way of shaping itself. I have the idea that a certain kind of exemplary poem teaches you how to read it. It carries its own encoded instructions, enacting its subject, pointing to its own operation. It enacts what it is about, a made thing that indicates the nature of its own making. I will repeat that line because it is so profound. A made thing that indicates the nature of its own making. Poems communicate before they are understood, and the structure operates on or inside the reader, even as the words infiltrate the consciousness. The form is the shape of the poem's understanding, its way of being in the world, and it is the form that structures our experience. Until next time.
Until next time.
Right.
Thank you. I hope everybody noticed the new walking sticks with doorknobs, some of them,
Yeah,
3 of them.
it's done by a gentleman named Alex Edwards. He's
Who, Edwards?
Alex, A-L-E-X, Alex Edwards.